Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 1 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're going to learn to think like an engineer using the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi. Now what I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee, poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we will be using the Sunfounder Elite Explorer Kit. Now, some of you guys might already have your gear, but if you don't, look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon. You can hop on over there and pick your kit up. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier in this class if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. I'm going to teach the absolute beginner how to boot up and write your first computer program on the Arduino R4 Wi-Fi. Now, I should tell you what my assumptions are going into this class. This is lesson number 1. I'll tell you what my assumptions are. I do not assume that you already have your PhD in computer science from MIT. I don't assume you're already an expert. And in fact, I assume that you don't know anything about computers or technology. But what I do assume is I assume that you'll pay attention and I assume that you'll work hard. And the promise that I will make to you is if you will just pay attention and work hard, I promise you that you will be successful in this class. Does that sound good? I hope it does. So let's just jump right in. You can get your kit, and what you need to do is you need to find your Arduino. So open up that kit and you need to look for your Arduino. Mine came in the big box, in this little box. You'll need to open that box up and you will need to get out your new shiny Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi. So you're going to need that. You're also going to need the cable, the USB to USB-C cable, because you're going to, in a minute, need to plug this into your desktop. But the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to download the Arduino IDE, or the Integrated Development Environment. And that is the little program that runs on your desktop computer where you write your Arduino program, and then that IDE, it compiles your program and then sends the compiled code down into the Arduino. So we need to get you set up with that Arduino IDE. So I will get out of your way here. And we need to come over. You need to open up a browser. I'm using the most excellent DuckDuckGo search engine just because I can. And what you want to search on is something like Arduino IDE download. And then you come here and you can see that it says software Arduino. So we're going to click on that, have a little bit of our coffee. And there it is, downloads. How easy is that? Now, I am using for this class Arduino IDE 2.2.1. Now, I'm making the lesson today, but you might be taking this class a year or 2 years from now. I suggest that you use the identical IDE that I have, because if you use the same IDE I have, you will get the same results I'm getting. And if you come someday in the future and download version 4 and then you write me saying your stuff doesn't work, well, it's because you're on a different IDE. So let's stick, can we, to Arduino IDE 2.21 for this class. And then I am on Windows and I like to download this. This is just a .exe, so it's very easy to install. So I'm going to click on this Win 10 and newer 64-bit. You also have Linux and you also have Mac OS options. Now, I had downloaded this earlier so that you wouldn't have to sit and watch me wait for the thing to download. And you can see you get a happy little Arduino icon like this. And so we're going to click on that thing and hopefully something comes up. And here it is. So it is asking us to agree to this. I have no idea what I'm agreeing to. Do you guys ever read this? We might be agreeing to give our left kidney to Arduino in case they needed it, or our firstborn child, or whatever, or, do whatever with our data. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to live dangerously. I'm going to say I agree. I'm going to install it only for me, not for everyone on the computers. And I'll say next. And this is just where it's going to put the program. That's going to be fine. And I'm going to click install. And then we're going to have a little sip of our go juice, okay? All right, man, I've been away from Arduino for a couple of years, and this last week or two I've been working with it, and oh man, I love it. I always loved the Arduinos. I love the earlier R3 Arduinos, but man, I'll tell you, this Arduino R4 is a bad boy. I am telling you, and we are going to have a lot of fun in this class. I've got some great things planned out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start you at step one. Very, very simple. Today, we're going to write our first program. Okay, today we're going to write our first program. But before this class is over, you are going to be doing some incredibly interesting things. Why? Because I'm going to teach you how to think like an engineer. Okay, this is done. So, excuse me, I'm going to tick Run Arduino IDE, so it'll go ahead and start it, and I'll click finish, and hopefully that thing will pop up for us here in just a second. Get this browser out of the way. Yeah, it's coming up, and I'm going to go ahead and try to make it nice and large so you can see easily what I am doing. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, taking a second, and I think that picked up the last program that I was working on, so we don't want to do that. So the first thing we've got to do now is we've got the IDE. Good. That's good. If you've gotten this far, you've got what it takes to be successful in this class. But what we're going to do now is we need to install the board. So you come up here, and do you see this little icon that looks like a board? You're going to click that. Okay. And then you're going to say Arduino R4, like that. Okay, and then it comes up here. Similarly to what I said about the IDE, the version of the software here, I would advise that you use the same one I'm using, which is going to be 1.0.5. Now you can click and you can go to earlier versions, but by the time you take this class, you might have 2.7.3, but I recommend, so that this class goes smoothly for you and for me, let's stay on the same version. So we've got it here. We're going to click install, and we're going to install that board. And you can see all types of happy little things happening down in the corner behind me. It's saying processing Arduino board, installing platform, all these happy little things happening, configuring the platform. I just got a let's see. I just got a thing like, do you really want to let it modify your computer? Yeah, we'll trust the Arduino guys. Okay. So now where are we? We've installed the board. Okay, we've installed the board. Now what we want to do is we want to connect the board. We want to connect the board to that USB cable that is connected to our desktop computer. So I'm going to come over here, and I'll put the board down, and I'll let you see here. We've got, man, one thing, I like a lot of things about this Arduino R4, but one of the things I really like about it is this little plastic case, because you see how you have solder joints on the back of the board, and you just put this on your desk. If you somehow put this on something metal, it shorts out those things. So you really don't want, really want to be careful about the back of your boards hitting anything metal. Now we've got this little USB-C cable that's plugged into my computer already. This came in the kit too. We're going to plug that in. We heard that happy little noise that it has found the board, and so that's good. That's always a good sign. Man, we're on a roll here. Lesson 1, and we're on a roll. Okay, I need you to come back over here now, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come to Tools, and then you're going to look at the board. Let's make sure you're on the right board. It should already be there, but you come board and you come to Arduino Uno R4, and we are on the Wi-Fi board. And so if you ever have something acting a little strange, pro tip, make sure you have the right board selected, because sometimes for whatever reason that can get a little goofed up. So make sure you're on the right board. And now we're going to come over and we've got to tell it what USB port we're on. So we come down to port And you can see that mine says COM4. But if I look over here, it finds the Arduino where? It finds my Arduino at COM5. You see it says Arduino Uno R4, so I can see that COM5 would be the wise choice for you to make, the wise choice for me to make. For you, it might not be COM5, it might be COM7. But wherever your Arduino shows up, select that. Okay, now I'm going to click this again to get this board installer out of the way. And now this is where I would write the program. We always start with a program called bare minimum. So I want you to come down under examples, under basic, and I want you to open bare minimum. And that opens in a new window. So I'm going to go ahead and kill that first window. I tried to figure out if there was a way that you could have it open just a tab, like just open a tab in the old window, but I couldn't figure it out. So we just get a new window. And we kill the first window. Okay, so now what I want you to see with an Arduino program, there's two parts to it as we get started. There is the void setup and there is the void loop. And then we have what I call a clause. The clause starts with the open curly and it ends with the close curly. What do you do in void setup? All the commands between the opening curly and the close curly, that will be your void setup. So that's your clause, and all of your commands would go in there. In the void setup, those are the commands that you want to execute one time. So it's as you're setting up your Arduino, you don't want to do it over and over. The setup you do where? In void setup. It executes it how many times? One time. Now the next part is the void loop. And whatever is in the void loop, it executes over and over and over. So void setup, the commands you want to do once. Void loop, the commands that you want to cycle through, that you want to repeat over and over and over again. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I can show you kind of the board here, so we can be looking at this board live as we start the program. Okay, so what I want to show you is, if you look, one of the things I really love about the Arduino is all of the pins are really labeled very clearly. So you see you have all these input-output pins on both sides and they're all labeled, okay? And what I want you to notice is, I want you to notice there is this one pin that is called pin 13. Okay, now these pins, I can send data to them, like I can talk to them, or I can listen to them. If I talk to them, if I send data to the pin, that pin is an output because I'm outputting to it. If I'm listening or taking a reading, I make the pin an input. But what I want to show you is, because we want to do our first cool thing in our very first program, pin 13, this pin 13 is actually already hooked up. Pin 13 is already hooked up to this little LED here. Okay, it's hooked up to this LED here. Because I don't want to slow us down on our first lesson, on our first computer program by building circuits or anything like that. I just want you to write your first program in lesson 1. And the easiest way to do that is if we start interacting with this little LED here. Okay, if we want to interact with that LED, the first thing that we are going to need to do is we're going to need to tell the Arduino, are we going to make that pin 13? Are we going to make it an input? Or are we going to make it an output? And we do that with the first command you're going to learn here. It's called pin mode. I type pin, M-O-D-E. Notice case is very important. It's P-I-N, uppercase M. If you don't get the case perfect, program's not going to work. So we've got to work it perfectly. Also, we only want to set the pin mode up one time, so we do it where? In the void setup. And I do it after the open curly, so it's in that clause. Okay, it's between those two curlies. It's one of the things we're going to do. Pin mode, and then which pin are we going to tell it about? Pin 13. And then what do we want it to be? An output. And also notice all uppercase for that output. So pin 13 is an output. Now, something that's very important, almost every command in Arduino, at the end of the command, we give it a semicolon. And if you ever get an error, one of the most common errors is you forgot a semicolon, and the error message you get will be expected something disclaimer before the token. It's like a really bizarre error message where really, in fact, you just forgot. You just forgot your your semicolon, your semicolon. Is that a colon? No, that's a colon, right? That's a colon. You forgot your, no, that's a semicolon. You forgot your semicolon. Okay. Now we're going to loop here. What do I want to do? I want to turn that little LED on. So what do? I'm going to write to it. How am I going to write? I'm going to do a digital write. Case is important. Digital write. Where am I writing to? 13. And what do I want to do with it? I want to take it high. You can take it high, that will turn it on, or you can take it, what? Low, and it'll turn it off. Okay, so I do digital write, pin 13 high. That, my friend, should turn the LED on. But what did I forget? What did I forget? I almost clicked run, and I almost forgot what? Our friend, Mr. Semicolon. Okay. Now, if you just click this check mark, it will check your code. And if you click the right arrow, it will check the code, compile it, and download it into the Arduino. So we're going to live dangerously, and we're going to do that. But let's save our program first. So I'm going to do you can't see that. It came on the other screen. But do a file, and then do a save as. Okay. And then I am in Documents, Arduino. Okay, and then what am I going to save it as? I am going to save it as first program, like that. And then I'm going to say save. And then it saves it. So, it's always good to get in the habit of saving your code. All right, the one other thing I'll show you is, where does it save it? Well, you saw it saved it in like whatever it was, Documents in Arduino. You can change that if you come to File, and then go over to Preferences, and then you can see that you can, let's see, where you see this sets where it saves your programs, and I'm in Documents Arduino. You can set that to a different default so that every time you can save them wherever you want. Font size 24, scale 100%, theme light, language English. This looks pretty good, so I'm going to say okay. But that's just in case you want to save that preference, you can. So now this is the moment of truth. I will need everyone to hold their breath. I will need everyone to hold their breath. And then what are we hoping for? We're hoping when we run that program that this little LED will turn on. So I will need everyone to hold their breath. And then I'm going to click this right arrow. Good, good. Happy little messages. Happy little messages. Compiling sketch. Uploading. Okay, it's compiling, it's uploading. Hold your breath. And boom! Look at that. The LED came on. All right, man. We wrote our first program and it ran the first time. Okay. Now, if I could turn that LED off, what else could I? If I could turn that LED on, what else could I do? Comment down below. What should we try? Let's try to turn it off. And if high turns it on, what do you think would turn it off? I'm going to try low. Okay. We're going to run the program again. We can always enjoy a little coffee while the thing is compiling. And boom, look at that. LED is off. Okay. Now what could we do? If I could turn it on and I could turn it off, I could make that LED what? I could make the LED what? Blink. Okay, so let's see if we can make it blink. So I've turned it off, but let me start by turning it on. And remember, this is in a loop, so it's going to go on, off, on, off, on, off if I put that in the loop. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say digital write. Where am I going to write? 13. What am I going to do? I'm going to turn it high. So what will this command do? It will turn the LED on. What will this command do? It will turn the LED off. So what do we expect to see when we download this? We expect to see it blink. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's enjoy a little coffee as this thing is compiling. It's uploading now. And Houston, we have a problem. It's like it's not blinking. Although it's not as bright as it was a while ago. So I told it to turn it on, off, but all I see is kind of a dim LED. Somebody tell me what happened. Somebody tell me what happened. One of you guys tell me what happened. Leave a comment, or if you're in the Premiere, then go ahead and leave a comment here. Why did this not work, or why did we get an unexpected result? Okay, the reason we got an unexpected result is, do computers do things really slowly, or do computers do things really quickly? They do things really quickly. And so what's probably happening here is this thing is turning on and off like a million times a second, and your eye cannot perceive something that is blinking that fast. So what do we really need? We really need to slow it down. We need to, after we turn it on, we need to wait a bit. And then after we turn it off, we need to wait a bit. Okay, and there is a command, and that command is called delay. Okay, that command is called delay, like that, and I'll have to put a number in here. Okay, and then delay. I like to be mindful of my indents. Okay, now I have to put a parameter in there. I have to put a number in there. And what it wants is the number of milliseconds that you want to delay. So let me just, again, I don't want to leave anyone behind. So let's just talk about what milliseconds are. Okay, there are 1,000 milliseconds is equal to 1 second. So if you just went in there, if you put a 1 on your delay, it's not going to delay for 1 second. It's going to delay for 1 millisecond, which is 1/1000th of a second. So how do you go from seconds? I know how many seconds I want, and I want to go to milliseconds. What do? Well, you just multiply by 1,000. So let's say if I want to stay on for 0.5 seconds, that's half a second. I want it to stay on for half a second. How many milliseconds would that be? Well, that would be 0.5 times 1,000 is equal to 500. So if I want it to blink and stay on for half a second, stay off for half a second, what do I need to do? I need to use 500 in that delay. So let's come over here and let's come back to our program. Let's come back to our program. Let's come back to our program. And then what we are going to do is on our delay, I'm going to put 500 milliseconds, and then it turns on. It stays on for 500 milliseconds. It turns off. It stays off for 500 milliseconds. And somebody tell me what mistake I've made. What do you not like about what I did? I got so excited about milliseconds. I had my little pad. I was showing you everything. What's the problem? Where are we missing our friend? Mr. Semicolon on those two. And if you don't do that, then it's not going to work. Okay, so we will do this again. We really hope it's going to blink this time, so I will need you to hold your breath. Boom! Look at that. Boom! Blinking on for half a second, off for half a second, on for half a second, off for half a second. So that is really cool. And it doesn't have to be the same either. We could say, well, let's stay on. Let's stay on for 1 second. 1 times 1,000 would be 1,000 milliseconds. And then let's stay off for 50 milliseconds. So it's going to be on for 50 milliseconds. It's going to be on, off, on, off, on. It's going to be a blink like that. So let's take a look and see what that does. All right, there it goes. And look at that. On, off. You see how it's just barely off and it's on for most of the time. So you see, we've got a lot of control. Hey guys, how cool is this? First lesson, you've written your first program, you've written your first couple of programs, and what commands have we learned today? We've learned that if you're going to talk to a pen, you have to do a pen mode. You have to tell it you're either going to talk to it, it's an output, or you're going to listen to it, it's an input. So if I am going to turn something on like an LED or a motor or a servo, I would make the pen an output. If I'm going to have a sensor and I'm going to read from the sensor, a sensor hooked to that pen, and I'm going to read from it, in that case, what would it be? That pen would be an input. Okay, so you've got to set your pen modes. We've learned that in void setup, those are the things you're going to do one time, and the things that you want to loop, you put in the void loop. So we learned pen mode, we learned how to digital write high, we learned how to digital write low, and we learned how to put a delay into a program. So I think that is pretty good. I think we have made some pretty incredible progress for our first lesson. And what I do need to do is, this is a class and there will be homework. And so what your homework assignment is going to be is play with your program and make the delay for the high and the delay for the low, make them the same. Okay, make them the same value, but I want to see how low you can make that number and still perceive it blinking. So like at 50 milliseconds, I can still see it blinking, but as that number gets lower and lower and lower, we're going to reach the point that the eye can't perceive that it blinks. And so what your homework assignment is to play with this and find the lowest number that you can put in these two places and still perceive a blink. Then you take a short video of your homework assignment, you post it to YouTube. In the comments down below, you link over to your homework assignment, and then I will check every single homework assignment. Then on your video that you post, you put a link back to this video so anybody who watches your video will kind of know what you're talking about and where you came from. And then I will look at your homework assignments and I will post comments about your assignment. So guys, I hope you're having as much fun taking these lessons as I am making them. Like I say, I haven't used the Arduino in a couple of years, and it is really great to be back in the saddle. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Arduino was the first single board computer that I learned to program, and it still has a special place in my heart. Also, I want to give a shout out to you guys who are helping me out over at Patreon. You guys are the guys standing with me that keep me in the game. So you Patreon guys, you're the guys that keep this great content coming. Thank you. You can also help me by leaving a comment down below, liking the video, subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, make sure you ring that bell so that you get notified when future lessons drop. And most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people thinking like an engineer and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.